Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I want to welcome you to the Engaged Employee Podcast. Our mission is to emphasize the relationship between the employee and the workplace with the goal of enhancing engagement levels to create a more productive and satisfying work environment. While many organizations strive to create a more engaging atmosphere, they often miss the mark by forcing connection with big team building events like axe throwing or escape rooms. Those activities only leave employees with a short-lived sense of belonging. Organizations may also try smaller and more suffocating events like happy hours or group birthday celebrations that their employees feel obligated to attend. As a social connections and business culture coach, I've found that to create a stable, engaged, and productive workforce, there needs to be a shift in focus from mandatory fun and manufactured connection towards building trust and authentic conversation. Join me and a guest as we dive into social wellness strategies for the individual employee, techniques for developing interpersonal relationships with coworkers, and even some approaches for leaders to enrich the overall organizational culture. The Engaged Employee Podcast starts now. Welcome to the Engaged Employee Podcast. My name is Coach Lee. I'm so glad to have you here. My guest today is Amy Jacques. Amy is an energy leadership master practitioner, empowerment coach, and the owner of Aspire LLC. She provides employees and employers with insight into the power of self-care. With a fervent passion for assisting individuals, her mission is to guide people towards a fulfilling life, where work becomes a source of joy and all needs are met harmoniously. She offers self-care coaching that asks clients to delve deeper into their temporary pleasures, like indulging in chocolate cake or having a fun night out, to empowering themselves by shifting their energy towards sustainable well-being practices. Those practices will nurture long-term health and happiness. Our conversation today will be focused on individual self-care strategies for the employees. Amy Jacques, welcome
Hey.
to the Engaged Employee Podcast.
Hi, how are you doing, Coach Lee?
I'm fantastic. How are
Good.
you?
I'm great. Great to be
Wonderful,
here.
wonderful. You're glad to be here. We're glad to see you here. I'm glad to see you here. I'm sure my guest has something amazing for you, audience, and you'll also be glad that she's here today. So, Amy, tell us a little bit about. We got a little bit of understanding of who you are in my introduction of you, but I
Mhm.
know it doesn't do you justice. Tell us, what is it that you do and how you got into this?
Sure. So I've self-declared myself an empowerment coach. I started out as kind of a basic life coach, and as time went on, I really felt like what my work was empowering people. So I changed it. I changed what my title was. And what I like to do is to teach people how to become self-aware, because self-awareness is where a lot of your power comes from. When you really understand how you operate, then you can like manipulate your environment, and you can do some shifting of, your mind or your thoughts, because
Yeah.
you understand yourself. So a lot of my work starts there. And then, at that point, sometimes,
How did you, if I could ask, how did you get into coaching?
oh,
What made you
okay.
decide to do coaching in the first place?
Okay, so it's a long story, but I'll make it short. Back about 3 years ago, I had to take time off from work to be my father's caregiver. And I could not get approved for FMLA because I was an educator. I was a school counselor for 19 years. And so when I decided that I wasn't going back because I had to stay with my dad, I decided to do something different and to leave public education. After the pandemic and what I saw happening, I really didn't want to be a part of that anymore. But
Mhm.
I'm a helper. So I can't do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to go to the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. We call it IPEC. And it was I'm going to say 10-month training. Some of it was
Hmm.
in person, and some of it was virtual. And I got my certification through IPEC and through the International Coaching Federation. And then
Wonderful.
I just hung my shingle, and I just decided I'm going to roll with it. My background, I have like, so much back here from 19 years. And I didn't just work with kids and teens. I also worked with parents and people.
Hmm.
So, I thought, wow, I'm going to be able to do this. So I'm doing it. So
Absolutely.
that's how I got into it.
It sounds like a really great story. I
Mhm.
like the idea. Like at the beginning, you had said that you decided to call yourself a coach, but then you were like, "No, I'm an empowerment coach."
Yeah.
And the idea that you have empowered yourself. You're not waiting for anybody else to tell you that you can do this
Hmm.
thing. You've done
Hmm.
it yourself. So,
Yeah.
way to name it. Way to really step into the role. Like you
Hmm.
demonstrate what it is that you teach people to do, which
Yep.
is just very important. So many people do not walk the walk or do not walk the talk,
Hmm.
don't do what it is that they say. So
Yeah.
I'm super curious about how you use your empowerment skills to help other people, because you said you don't just help kids. Well, in the past you did, you were a counselor, but you
Hmm.
also help adults. So
Right.
what is it that you've noticed, and how do you help people in general with their empowerment?
Okay. Of course, after I get to know who the client is, we spend some time on their background and who they are and what they feel they're going to get out of coaching. We start doing some assessments, and also I start throwing out some thought-provoking coaching questions. And the assessments, the first one that I really like to do for adults is the Energy Leadership Index. And people see that and get worried because they see leadership, they think business, and it is a great tool for managers, business owners, but it's really a great tool for everyone because we all should be leading ourselves. And the outcome of this assessment is, how do you use your energies to show up each day, and how does it impact where you want to go? And then from those results, after your debrief, it's the client's choice. They will see where their weaker areas are, or the areas where they need to learn a bit more, and we can focus and go that way. It's a lot of self-exploration at first. We go through life satisfactions of the 8 domains of your life. We go through the values a piece. And then we start getting nitty gritty with like the actual particulars that the client brings to the table. And from there, I coach to help them be accountable for the goals that they want to achieve.
8 domains of life.
Mhm.
What is that? Can you tell us a little bit
Ah,
about
okay,
maybe
sure,
a few of them? A few of them.
sure.
I know we only have a few moments here.
I
We
will
don't
do
have
just a
time
couple.
to break down all of them, but
Okay.
the question, because I wrote that down. I'm like, I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah.
I want to know more about what these 8 domains of life and
Mhm.
are in. Like, I bet they impact us differently. But what's one or two that you see people really, really struggle with?
Okay, sure. The one of the ones that they really struggle with are their satisfaction level with their self development, their personal development. That is usually one of the big ones. The other big one is their satisfaction level within their health, their physical health, and their mental health. That one we spend a lot of time on at times. And the other levels that we look at are uh, work, career, spirituality. Uh, yeah. So, and the ones that I talked about as far as um, being healthy and personal development. Finance is a big one as well. And they rate them between 1 and 10 on a satisfaction level, where 1 is absolutely not happy at all with it, to I'm really being satisfied in this area of my life. And then we go through them.
Then you go through them. I heard you
Mhm,
say personal development is a
mhm,
big one. And of
mhm,
course, it just seems like comparison is the thief of joy. And we look at other people and
Mhm.
we think, well, I'm not as developed as this person or that person, especially in the workplace. I'm an individual who works really, really hard for some reason, and this person doesn't really barely shows up. They're late all
Mhm.
the time,
Mhm.
or whatever, and they seem to be getting more than me. And that really hurts the relationship that we have with
Mhm.
ourselves. I think
Yeah.
it hurts a relationship. And so for these people who are looking for more professional development, personal
Mhm.
development rather, because I
Th
think personal first and then professional
That's
next,
that's how
it,
I
it,
like it, yep.
it flows into that. What would you say to help these people get started with it? If I'm frustrated with where I am, I'm
Mhm.
not sure where to start or how to start this development piece.
Okay, well, I hope that taking the Energy Leadership Index, which is a whole nother program, it does provide you with how you, it teaches you about your energy levels, and it comes out and it shows you the things that you might need to work on, and it might be communication, it might be how your it could be your attitude, it could be how you feel about people who are different from you, all these things that come together that actually, if you work on these things, you will become empowered. So I guess I would start from what came from that, or just outright ask, what is your goal? Why are you here? Why are you at coaching? What is it that you want to happen, the end goal, and then if it is, the say, the comparison piece that you talked about, which is very toxic, it we kind of will dig out why you do that, like what is, how does this make you feel, or how, and we'll, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, but I feel like I'm working really, really hard. And then I might ask, well, is that a story you're telling yourself, or is that something that you really feel is true? Explain more to me. And we dig into those types of things, to kind of get people to reframe their thoughts, and be kinder to themselves, and be mindful and to of themselves, and to start talking about, it doesn't matter what the person next to me is doing. I really only need to focus on myself. And a lot of times when it clicks, it's like, "Oh, that would be so much easier." Yes, it would be so much easier if you just focused on yourself, and work on letting go of what other people are doing around you, because you don't know anything about their background or anything about their relationship with who the boss is or the manager is. They could have a completely different situation from you that means that this person looks like they get more, but you don't know what that really is or why that's really happening. So don't compare yourself. It's focus on yourself, and that's the only thing you can change,
Is you.
and is you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
like that idea of focusing on yourself, and just it's so much easier. I guess if I were to think about the energy index and where I'm placing my energy, if I'm placing it all and imagining what this person's life is, I have none for me to actually make
Mhm.
changes in my life.
Absolutely.
I
It
have
keeps you
none.
at a very low level because you've kind of just siphoned it, for
Yeah,
sure.
just giving it all away to somebody else who does not
Mhm.
even, it's probably mean energy too. Is I
Mhm.
would tell a super quick
Mhm.
story. I used to work in a warehouse, and there was this
Mhm.
guy who was really, really likable, and they wanted him to be some kind of, he may have been some kind of team lead. He had the attributes to be one, and I
Mhm.
was just mad because I thought I should be one. I was just mad
Mhm.
at him. I didn't like him for no, it just because I was
Mhm.
all
It
jealous,
happens.
and I was all grumpy and
Mhm.
angry, and no one wants to be around that kind of energy
Mhm.
anyway.
No.
So go process that, go figure it out.
Mhm.
And if you
Mhm.
don't know how to do that, Amy here is going to support you with that.
Yeah, I
So
would love to. It's when it clicks and when people get it, it's amazing. They come back and they're like, "I can't believe I shift from my level 2. I got all the way to a 5." Like, I figured out how to just like box something or put it on the shelf so I could focus on what I was doing, and I was able to, give the energy that that project really needed. And
so when you say level 2 to level 5 really quick, I'm curious about that. What is it? The levels are 1 to 10 or
the levels are 1 to 7,
1 to
and
7?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
based on your catabolic energy and your anabolic energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, neither one are good or bad. They just exist. But the analog, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said the word and now it's left me. So we'll go catabolic. The catabolic energy is energy that can be really destructive, like comparison, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be good sometimes. For some people, they see other people doing something, it motivates them, and they push themselves forward.
Right.
I will say many times it's the opposite, where we compare ourselves and we stay in that lower
Mm-hmm.
energy, that 1 or 2 energy. The anabolic energy is a more productive energy. And that's like when we start noticing we're not the only one in the world, that there are other people. And how do we reach out to them? How do we practice our empathy? How do we push ourselves forward? So like 1 and 2 and 3 are a little, 1 and 2 are completely catabolic. 3 is anabolic, catabolic, and then 4 through 7, those are all different levels of anabolic energy that will get you to your joy, your happiness, your ability to be who you need to be at any given time.
Nice.
It's
So
a big.
there are practices, there are exercises to get
Oh
us
yeah.
to step up into those things. I knew that you had something amazing to share with us today. That was really, 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 really short. That's like we didn't have that much time to
Oh,
explore it.
there's
I
so
know
much
that
to talk
there's so
about.
much more. Yes, there's so much more. I know. I do these 15 minutes as a teaser to everybody out there because I know you're busy and I want to spark your interest and bring something new to you that can empower you in your life. And if you'd like to learn more, as always, I'm going to make sure that you're able to connect with our guests. So Amy, tell us a little bit more. How can they find you?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, sure. You can find me. My website is www.aspireself.com. The word self is after aspire. It's SELF. You can find me on Instagram and um, Instagram and I think LinkedIn. They're both Aspire by Amy. And then Facebook, I believe, is Aspire.Amy Jacques. And they're listed here for you. So, I also have a phone number. It's 860-222-0797. The only problem with the phone call, which I would love, is there's a lot of phone tag because I'm working during the day with people in
Yes.
session. So the
It's
best
better
way.
it's better to get on their calendar. I go to
Yeah.
their website, get on their calendar,
Yeah.
schedule a
You can
call,
schedule
go to
yourself.
LinkedIn, send her a DM. If you
Yeah.
want some immediate information, go check
Mhm.
out her LinkedIn, go check out her
Mhm.
Instagram,
Mhm.
Facebook, send her
Yeah.
a DM,
Mhm.
message her, send her an email, do something like that because phone tag is hard. We don't have to do it these days anymore either because we have this awesome
Right.
technology.
Right.
We
Right.
don't.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's frustrating too when you can't answer right away and you're going to be booked the rest of the day with clients. Of course I try to, get back and say this is going to you got to give me time, but the best way is you can click on schedule. It's called schedule a conversation and you just click on that and you'll be able to pick a time that works for you and you'll see what works for
Perfect.
me. And then, it's the first 30 minutes you chat with me, first 30 minutes to an hour you chat with me. I'm not going to charge you because I know
Okay.
you're just researching.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because she really cares and she wants to
Mhm.
make sure that you all
Mhm.
understand what you're in for. And
Mhm.
besides that, once you get a little bit, you're going to get hooked. That's
Mhm.
how it goes.
I hope
All
so.
right. Thank you so much, Amy. We are
Oh,
so excited to have you here again, and perhaps we'll have you another time.
okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Another insightful episode of the Engaged Employee Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the world of employee engagement, leadership, and workplace dynamics. The Engaged Employee Podcast is brought to you by the Patterns of Possibility, where we help people make more meaningful relationships in both their personal and professional life. Before we wrap up, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible guests and, of course, our loyal listeners. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you valuable content each week. If you found today's discussion thought-provoking and want to learn more about how we can help you or your organization make more meaningful relationships, go to patternsofpossibility.com and book a friendly conversation with me. Or you can email me your questions at patternsofpossibility@gmail.com. Stay connected with us and engage with fellow listeners by following the Patterns of Possibility on LinkedIn. You can also catch us on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to stay in the loop. And if you prefer the audio version, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your support means the world to us, and by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. Thank you for being a part of our journey to create workplaces where passion meets productivity. Until next time, I'm Coach Lee. Stay engaged, stay inspired.